You want to grow faster than 99% of the people that you meet? Then here's the plan. Be someone who feels like you can learn anything from everyone that you meet.
Let's go. I don't know what comes next, but I couldn't care less. I refuse to be stressed. There's no fear in my chest. Hear the boom from my stairs. Walk away from the pain I've been through. This feeling I'm feeling is brand new. This is the moment I break through.
Welcome to 10 Minute Masterclass, your weekly mic drop for business breakthrough. I'm your host and lead MC, Trey Sheneman, and it is my goal each and every week on 10 Minute Masterclass to teach you timeless business principles that can help you unlock today's business problems. Now, the typical way we do that is through something we call the core 4 drivers of growth, because no matter when I was taking my own startups to market, like I'm doing right now with our company Herald, or running growth inside of some well-known brands, one of which we're going to talk about here in just a minute, I always saw growth functionally slow down when we encountered problems or bottlenecks in one of these core 4 drivers: marketing, sales, operations, and leadership. Now, before we jump into today's leadership lesson, I do want to remind you, if you hadn't heard yet, if you've been listening, you've heard, but if you hadn't heard yet, this is your first episode, you're just joining us. We did get our first sponsor. It's amazing, and it's in the travel vertical. So if you're somebody who likes to travel, you can travel flexibly. You're self-employed, or maybe you guys don't have children yet, or you have children and they've moved out, like whatever it is, you're not beholden to a set schedule and you can travel whenever you want. I highly encourage you to check out the LiveWell Vacation Club. My wife and I are members. We love being in it. It is not a timeshare. It is a membership. Something for you to go check out. The rates are incredible. And if you hit the link in the show notes, you're going to see we're going to even hook you up with a better deal once you go there as a thank you for listening and subscribing to 10 Minute Masterclass. All right, so let's jump in. In today's episode, we're going to talk about leadership. Specifically, we're going to talk about the greatest leadership lesson that Brendon Burchard ever taught me. Now, I worked for Brendon in a really short period, a little bit less than a year. Nothing against Brendon's phenomenal leader, GrowthDay, his current company, phenomenal organization. I love that team. I had just started my current company, Herald, on the side, and Herald was growing a lot faster, honestly, than I anticipated it was going to grow at the time. And so what was originally going to be a 3 to 5 year run in my brain of helping work at GrowthDay ended up being short-lived just because of being able to step into being an entrepreneur. And those of you that are close to me know that we've had some health issues going on with our son. And so entrepreneurship has been a very flexible vehicle for us. So anyways, my time at GrowthDay was a lot shorter than I really went into it thinking it would be, but man, was it packed with wisdom at every turn. Working with Brendon was an incredible opportunity. And I remember in the early days of being there, Brendon and I were doing one-on-ones, and he taught me this concept that I'm going to share with you guys today. And man, it just hit me square between the eyes. And I think it's going to do the same for you. And Brendon was talking to me about mentorship, and he made this remark. I was telling him, I had told him a story about this mentor I had early on in my career, and he said most people chase one perfect mentor. But in his experience, the best leaders he had ever learned from and been around are the ones who could mine for wisdom anywhere. Man, I just thought that was like, mining for wisdom anywhere. And the phrase that he uses to talk about these kinds of leaders is he calls them mavericks with mentors. It means you're a maverick. You kind of have your own way of leading, but you're willing to learn from anyone that you meet and kind of be open-handed with that way you lead. And that one principle, man, that really shaped me, especially now stepping in my own startup at Herald. And I genuinely believe it helps me grow faster in business. It helps me lead more empathetically when I carry a posture of being able to learn something from anyone. And it also allows me to not burn out by thinking that I have to do it all alone, that there are other people out there who have been where I want to go. There are other people out there who have done things I'll never do. And those people might be in the grocery store down the street or at the golf course. I like to play golf in an airplane, and they randomly sat beside me on an open seating Southwest plane. And so there's just a posture there to being able to learn from anyone. And ultimately, the posture to me is a little bit two-sided. The first side is staying humbly curious. The way we actually keep this as a core value inside of Herald, we call it humble discontentment. And the idea of humble curiosity in this manner is that I can learn from anyone. At the same time, on the other side of humble curiosity is intentional generosity, which is I'm also willing to mentor anyone. I'm not going to keep the things that I've learned to myself. I'm going to share them with the world. And one of the ways that I step into this, and I hope that I do a decent job of it, I really, really do take it seriously, is making this podcast. This is a way for me to mentor anyone. Anyone could listen to this podcast and hopefully learn something that's very applicable to their business. Another aspect of the way I try and stay intentionally generous is I do mentor people, offer to mentor people a lot. And I try and publish really great content on LinkedIn. I take my LinkedIn profile very serious. I try and teach from that platform all the time. I'm not some huge influencer or anything, but I just take it seriously because I want to embody this concept of being Mavericks with mentors, of living out this balancing act of humble curiosity and intentional generosity. So let me unpack those kind of postures a little further and really walk through the levels of this mindset that I think of how, if you're thinking, well, how do I actually do that, Trey? Like, how do I live those things out? I actually think it's pretty simple. So the first step to living this out is you have to value curiosity over certainty. It's being able to ask the right questions and not the desire to be right. That's the balance, because great leaders, the best leaders I've ever worked with, they ask more questions than they give answers. They enter every room thinking, what can I learn from this person's experience, perspective, or pain when I meet someone? I've learned some of the best marketing ideas from people that have 500 followers. Not 500,000. I had an intern that worked for me one time at a past agency, and that was the hardest working individual I've ever met in my entire life. I've worked with thousands of people in person at this point. This 19-year-old kid blew me away with how hard he worked. It challenged me because I was being a little bit of a bum, if you know what I'm saying. And so I would say a way that you can practice this curiosity over certainty is, especially if you're a person of rank, if you're the owner, find someone junior on a team, and then next time you have a question, ask them their perspective first. Don't push back on their answer either. Just take their answer and say, thank you so much for that perspective. That's one way you can start embodying curiosity as you carry yourself on. So that's number one. Another way to think about embodying this mindset is to turn your ego off and to turn your ears on. Insecure leaders block growth by pretending to know it all. You don't. Really, you don't. All right, I don't either. It's okay to not know it all. Really confident leaders can drop that act really fast. And because they're willing to drop that act and learn from anywhere, guess what happens? Man, they level up so much quicker than the people who cannot drop that act. I remember, when I was learning this concept from Brendon, I was just an independent contributor. It was the first time in my career in like 9 or 10 years that, I kind of had some people that were somewhat reporting to me, but it was a little bit of a different kind of a setup there. And I remember thinking like, I'm not really leading here. But Brendon's remark was like, you're leading here. Like you're leading here because everyone's learning from you, that sort of thing. And so turn your ego off. My ego was kind of getting in the way of like, I don't really have the responsibility I'm used to. And he's like, turn your ears on, listen for the opportunities where you can step in and add value. And so that was really good. So one way to me that I think you can turn your ears on is to keep what I call a mentor map. Have people in your life that you're learning from spiritually, physically, emotionally, personally, professionally. Now that might be one really good mentor that's doing all those things, or it might be 5, but keep a mentor map so you can make sure that you're being challenged and you've got your ears on to the right people. The last way that you can practice this curiosity, this concept around being a maverick or mentor is to be teaching. You have to give to grow. So even if you're not being mentored right now, mentor someone else and teach them. When you mentor someone, even if it's informally, you're reinforcing your own beliefs in your brain. Those are being cemented in you. It's sharpening your thinking. And more importantly, it's creating a legacy. And legacy is powerful. So go through your text messages, find somebody that strikes you and text them and say, hey, I was thinking of you. If you ever want to jam on XYZ topic, like my text might say on business growth or strategy or something like that, I'd love to take you to breakfast one day and just hang out. You'd be really surprised by how blessed someone would feel if you were to send them that message. So as you're stepping into this and you really want to learn more about mentorship, being mentored and having a mentee, somebody you're leading, and being a mentee, from a mentor yourself, just keep in mind there's different levels of mentorship. Like right now in my life, I would say there's kind of 3 different levels of mentorship I'm even practicing. There's direct mentorship, like I'm mentoring 2 different young men right now. There's indirect mentorship. That's where you're learning from people's content, their podcasts, their books. I'm being indirectly mentored. I've got 3 books I'm reading right now. I follow 4 or 5 pods pretty regularly. I follow a couple of creators on LinkedIn. So that's indirect. And then there's situational mentorship, which is where you're in the moment with people and you're able to put value right where you are. So all 3 of those matter. They all three help you grow. At the end of the day, if you want to be a great leader, which I think if you're listening to this, that means you want to be a great leader. It's really simple. Learn from everyone. Learn from everyone. Be generous with what you know, and never forget, it's not about being the perfect guide or finding the perfect guide or being the perfect mentor. It's about the posture of being open to learn anything from anyone, anywhere. I hope you got some value out of this. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time on 10 Minute Masterclass, we'll see you on the flip side.